death, taxes, secret layers, and WotC banning cards that they print. It has happened again. We have got another Simic card banned in Standard. We talked about it last week, and it has come to fruition. We got a couple things to talk about. The card itself, what will replace it, and what cards are good against the decks that will continue to ravage Standard even without it.
Yes, there's a lot to talk about. I'm not surprised that there's been a banning. Actually surprised only one card got banned. The video starts right now.
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below.
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We are going to talk about the banning of a Titan that is being let off in handcuffs and will never be heard from again, at least in Standard. But first,
it won't escape.
Ah,
the ban hammer.
If you like that joke, go down there and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out.
Best way to support the channel with just the click of a button. And if you're so compelled, check us out on Patreon. Any level gets you into the Discord. It might be a good fit for you.
Let's look at these cards. Okay. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, banned in Standard, and that is it. Jake, there was so much speculation over the past week about we could ban Uro, we could ban Omnath, we could ban the Snake, we could ban Scoot Swarm, we could ban the Mill Crab. We landed on Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. This is the only card banned in Standard at this time.
Crab.
What do you think about Uro being gone, Jake?
Good, finally.
Yeah.
Jeez. The inevitability of this card, it's an all-in-one. You can build any deck you want around this card, and the deck is going to be good. It draws cards, it gains life, it ramps, it's a beater, it's anything and everything that you could possibly want. It's been a massive success, if you can't tell by the text on the card. And it's Icarus. It flew too close to the sun, and now here it is. It has been hit with a ban in Standard. However, the card is all over the place. It's in Modern, it's a Pioneer card, it's a Commander card. It's good as a Commander, it's good in the 99. It's historically playable, like Joel just said. It's even been played in Vintage and Legacy. The card is extremely, extremely good and extremely powerful. It's only banned in Standard, so don't expect the price to fall super hard, although do expect a dip right now, and if you see something that's low that's within your budget, I would say now is a good time to pick up the card in response to the banning. That being said, completely understand the banning. It's just in too many decks, and those decks have so much potency. It always feels good though, and in Historic, to exile an Uro using Ashiok for more of the spark, and I will get to continue chasing that feeling. But in Standard, the card is gone, and that's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how many decks have bent toward splashing green and blue just so that they could run Uro in the main deck. There
was like a Uro red that was like a meme. It was like a red deck. Or
yeah, Modern.
Did you just dream that?
No, that was a thing. There was a Modern burn
Uro
deck
red?
that was splashing Uro at a certain point. I don't know. The card is ridiculous. It goes into so many decks. It does so much. It represents so much on one card. It makes sense that it was banned. Do I think that it's enough in Standard to fix quote unquote the metagame? No. I think that there is a list of cards, probably 4 to 6 cards long, that if they aced those, maybe Standard would open up pretty wide. I am personally one that I know there's always going to be a best deck in the meta. There should, in my opinion, I think where I land as far as what a healthy meta looks like, 3 to 4 decks that are competitive and will make top 8s, and any one of them could be the number 1 deck on any given day, which we know is true of Magic in general, I think would be a healthy Standard meta. Will the removing Uro only be what fixes the meta? No. Do I understand the Wizards' choice to ban a card from a set that came out at the beginning of the year and not touch anything from their brand new card set that just released in paper on Friday? Absolutely. This is what I called was going to happen. Nothing from Zendikar is going to be touched right now. Uro was going to be aced, and that's where they're going to leave it until they see where it falls out. It was interesting in the article, Jake, because they acknowledged that nowadays, because of Arena being so popular, that standard metas are starting to shake out very, very quickly, way more quickly than they have in the past. I mean, imagine...
And I want to piggyback off that really quick, which is, if you're watching this video and you're one of the people who likes to, you just don't give the format time to develop, let's try to put on our patient pants here, because this is a card that has been just now been banned. I was playing Arena earlier today before the card was banned. The site literally just went into maintenance. I do see what Joel is saying about the format's being solved quickly, but let's try to be patient and let's not burn at the stake the first new deck that starts doing well.
Right.
Let's try to figure that out as Magic players and not just depend on the net deck to answer that for us, but let's actually use these cards. Arena is one of the most organized ways of having a collection. You can literally type in keywords, find the cards very quickly. It's unlike paper. I love paper Magic, but Arena, we have a lot of cards at our disposal where we can try to figure out these formats and not just... I don't want to see so many bannings. I really don't. I hate every time that we have to talk about a banned card. It used to be a very, very rare thing, and now it just is becoming standard practice. I get power creep, but we just have to be conscious of that and hopefully, solve these formats.
I saw a meme on Twitter right after this went live of a young woman helping her grandmother, and the grandmother said, "Oh, we used to go years without bannings in standard," and the girl goes, "Okay, grandma, let's go put you to bed." And it's just become this accepted thing nowadays as this is the norm. I wish it wasn't the norm. I do wish that, I hope that they will continue pushing design, trying new things. I'm hugely in favor of that. It's what happened with Companions. I loved that they tried it. They saw it was too much and they got it out of there almost immediately. And that's what they need to keep doing. They have acknowledged...
see them, but it's more balanced.
Exactly,
now.
Exactly. It's not every single freaking deck. It's great that they acknowledge that the formats are getting solved or explored much more quickly, just exponentially faster nowadays, and they need to ramp up the response time in relation to that. Keep pushing, keep trying, keep designing, keep thinking of new things, but if it doesn't work, protect the game, and I think everybody will start evening out on it. Jake, your point. Let's find answers. Let's search and do the work. I think that's a great segue into the next part of this video, which is what's going to replace Uro. We're going to help out the Uro players here, and what's going to fight against the decks that are losing Uro but still will probably be top decks in the meta.
Yeah, Omnath is not going away. There is going to be a little bit of a power down there because Uro has left.
That's exactly right.
Look at this card, and Joel brought this card up, and this is it's silly, but this is pretty much like, when you go and you get the everything but the bagel or whatever, that kind of seasoning. This is everything but the Uro.
Right.
So this is essentially, it's a great card, honestly, at common. Cantrips, which is nice.
This is one of the first cards in discussion for replacing Uro's slot in the decks that were running it. 3 mana to put a 1/1 count on a creature, whatever. You gain 2 life, there you go. Play an additional land this turn, there you go, and draw a card. So you got Explore, staple to some life gain, staple to a card draw spell. That's pretty much what Uro was. We've also got cards like Beanstalk Giant, the sorcery side of that. A big part of the Omnath deck is you want to fix your colors. You do need 4 separate colors of mana by turn 4 if you want to play it on curve. And that's normally not easy to obtain. Now, with Uro, with Triomes, with the Snake, with everything that exists in Standard right now, it's not that difficult to pull off, but Uro is definitely contributing to the ramp and contributing to the fixing of that. Beanstalk Giant does just that. 1 green, 2 other on the left side to search your library for a basic land and put it right onto the battlefield. So it ramps and it fixes the color. And like Jake said, it is a Uro on the back end. You've got a beater on the back end. It's not as good. It doesn't have its, ramp, draw card, gain life thing every single time it swings. But there's a reason that Uro was banned and Beanstalk Giant is still legal.
As a new Magic player, if you're new and you're watching the channel, welcome. Just know that
You showed up at a weird time.
The big thing, yeah, you did show up at a weird time, but the big thing about Magic the Gathering cards, and we've seen it with Brazen Borrower, Bone Crusher Giant, Beanstalk Giant, all of these cards, we're seeing it with like the modal dual face cards now. We're seeing all of these different cards with multiple options. Uro had inevitability. You can play it once, you can play it again from the graveyard. You know, Dredge is a very, very popular deck among multiple formats. So what are we seeing that's a theme is cards that are versatile. You're going to get to do something with this Beanstalk Giant early, and then late game you're going to get the beater when you might not have anything else to do other than just have, all right, cats. I'm just saying, I think Beanstalk Giant's really good. I hope that with Uro being banned, it does give this card more of a chance to shine. Yeah. It's a card that I've seen played a little bit, but
we've also got cards like Cultivate that I would suspect we're already running around as 1s, 2s, and 3s of in the Omnath deck, maybe pushing up to a full 4. It fixes your mana, it lets you ramp on that 3rd mana drop, which is huge. It lets you ramp up to your 4th mana, it lets you fix, and it makes sure that you've got another landfall trigger in your hand for the next turn.
Cultivate essentially, it ensures that you're going to hit Omnath on curve.
Correct.
Or pretty much anything that you want to do on curve. It's a great, great card.
Yeah, absolutely. That, I think, would slot in quite nicely to replace Uro. So let's talk about some cards to fight against the Omnath deck. If you watched the standard meta discussion last week, you may see some similar stuff, but we got to look at them through a little different lens now. Roiling Vortex is going to be still an excellent card. That bottom ability of 1 red to make your opponents not gain life is going to keep your aggro deck in this game. Omnath on 1 land drop gains 4 life, which is just, I mean, if that happens more than once, 2-3 times, you're back broken.
Swing a game.
Right, you're done. You're done as the red deck if they're undoing 12 damage. And so with Roiling Vortex, you're going to be able to stay in the game and generally keep working your opponent down. It's interesting, I've played this in some of the historic burn builds. This has become a main deck card in some of those builds, especially in a format where Uro is still going to be legal. Omnath is being played to great effect. There's multiple cards that are gaining you life all over the place and keeping you in the game against those burn decks. And so this card, it was interesting because every turn, essentially I was doing one less thing because I wasn't using all of my mana because I wanted to keep 1 mana open, and sometimes 2, because you don't want them to, you know, trigger some ability, you trigger the Roiling Vortex, and then on top they trigger some other ability and get around the life gain not happening this turn through the stack. So Roiling Vortex,
I love this card. Yeah, I love cheap enchantments like this. I love this for EDH as well. I have a deck that it has already found a home for this card. You know, and that mana is so efficient. Like, imagine if it were Phyrexian. You could just pay life so the opponents couldn't gain life. No, I'm just kidding. That would just be busted. But no, this is really, really nice, and it's everything that the red deck wants, and it's nice and sticky. It's hard to get rid of. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of this card. I'm always a fan of good enchantments. Enchantments are, every time a set comes out, make sure you look at all of the enchantments. And I'm talking about the ones that aren't just like, when it enters, remove something like a Oblivion Ring or something like that.
Sure.
Because all of the enchantments, they end up being really good for EDH. Some of them do.
Spikefield Hazard, we talked about last time. We talked about the standard meta because was a good answer to Uro. In Historic, it's going to continue to be a good answer to Uro. The path goes like this. They play their Uro, their abilities stack. You respond by Spikefield Hazarding the Uro, so that when every part of Uro is done and they've drawn their card, gained their life, played their extra land, they then have to sacrifice Uro. It checks, it says that, yes, that creature would die this turn, so it's going to be exiled instead, and you only have to deal with Uro once. Now, in Standard, this is still going to answer the snake, and that snake is going to be a huge part of these decks going forward. That's where the mana fixing is going to come from to guarantee that these decks are playing Omnath on curve. Now, with a ramp deck, once it's past curve and it's just blown you out and the deck is drawing a ton of cards and they've got a ton of lands, it is what it is. The snake is not as potent there, but that turn 2 snake, that turn 3 snake, making sure that you can answer that is going to slow them down enough so that you maybe have a chance to stay in this game. And Spikefield Hazard's a great way to do that. Shock is also an option here, but I do like that this one is one of these modal DFCs so that we can get a land out of it if we want it, if we draw
we
it
don't
late.
need it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, I am such a fan of this card. And at first glance, I was just kind of like, I shrugged at it.
Yeah, it's just 1 damage.
Yeah, it's just 1 damage, but it's a big deal. It's like Gut Shot. You know, Gut Shot, when that came out in New Phyrexia, you know, that was one of these new cards. I don't know if you guys remember Mental Misstep, but Mental Misstep was banned in Modern right out the gate because it was free mana. Essentially, you could pay Phyrexian Blue to just pay 2 life to counter target spell with converted mana cost 1. It was just like absolute shenanigans. It's like any turn 1 that your opponent is doing in Modern, you were able to counter that, and that got banned. But I put Spikefield Hazard on par with those other cards. Now obviously it's not free, you have to pay the 1 red, but that modal ability to flip this card and play it as a land, like, this kind of card is going to enable you to like keep hands that were, you know, otherwise not keepable. You know, you're going to be a little bit slower, you might have to play this tapped, but you know, having this in hand with like a 1 lander, it makes those kind of hands a lot better. I'm just, all of that to say, I'm very excited for these cards.
Yeah, the fact that it also says any target is really helpful to a burn deck as well, because if you are there at the end, you know, getting that 1 last point of damage across because you've been keeping them from gaining life with your Roiling Vortex, they're down to 1, you top deck a Spikefield Hazard. It's just 1 more card in the deck that you can top deck late in the game to deal that last little bit of damage that's necessary. Also, we're talking about killing the snake. Make sure you kill the snake on turn 2 or 3 whenever it comes out. Primo Might is another good way to do that in an aggressive deck. Mono green has been running this card as a 4 of recently to great effect. I've seen it run in some Gruul builds as well. It's going to give a creature XX, where X is how much mana you put into it, and then it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. A lot of people don't. I mean, look, you can activate this for 0 mana. Right. So you can pay 1 green to have one of your creatures fight up to 1 target creature you don't control. So if you have a 1 power creature at the very least on the battlefield's turns 1, 2, or 3, then you're going to be able to fight and kill that snake. And I would say that that is the right move to do in most cases. Kill that snake early, often. Get it off the board. And then, like Jake was alluding to, this card gets so much better late in the game too, because you Primal Might for 6, pay 7 mana, creature gets +6/+6, fights the
Kill
1 creature they have.
swing?
Exactly,
like,
and swing.
Come on, man. I don't know what else you want.
That's how this card wins the game. And so I like this card in particular because it can answer the snake for 1 mana, and that's really what I was doing when I was putting this video together, is trying to research the 1 mana answers to snake so that we can keep that card off the battlefield and keep their mana wonky. So looking at those 2 cards, I think those are 2 very good 1 mana answers for snake in colors that might want to find them. Very quickly, what decks got powered up as a result of Uro no longer being in the meta? And that is Soaring Thought Thief and the entire Rogues deck. The Rogues deck has already been doing very well, but one of the things is that it was running into a high amount of Uros in the meta, and not only was it putting Uros directly into the graveyard so that the opponent could cast them, but it was also filling up the graveyard with food for Uro to eat to escape. And so you had guaranteed turn 4 escaped sticking Uros happening. That's just not going to work. It's not sustainable. And so,
as someone who likes to play mill, I can confirm that was one of my biggest problems. If I was getting the Uro in the yard and I didn't have a way to get the Uro out of the yard, like a Cling to Dust, which is mostly a sideboard card, let's be honest, you know, there's not really much that you can do other than hope that maybe my rogues can out-tempo this big 6/6. And, you know, it kind of puts you in a position where if you have to have like hard removal for the Uro, and then most likely you're going to keep milling them. So every turn that they have 4 mana, they're going to bring Uro back.
Yep.
So Uro is gone, and I agree with you. This is going to be one of the biggest decks moving forward, as it took no hit from these bans.
Yeah.
And it was already good.
I think we're going to see this deck on the ladder a lot. Now let's talk about 2 other cards that I think should be at the top of your watch list now that it seems like they're trying to power down the runaway trains in the format. Crawling Barrens, I've seen this card doing work on Twitch lately, watching players on the ladder. This card, you can pump all of your extra mana into it, right, put counters on it. It can be a land, it doesn't have to be a land. Once you've wiped the board, removed all their threats, emptied their hand, countered all their crap, you're Gandalf Wizard saying you may not cast, but you do have a land that has been giving you mana for your spells early on, and late game just turns into this repeatable attacker.
And its own mana can go into its ability.
Right.
You don't have to tap it to do that ability to add it.
No.
So you can just add... Dude, I think this is a great control card. You stay open, EOT, oh, didn't have to use a counter spell at the end of your turn. I'll go ahead and sink mana into Crawling Barrens.
Yep.
Late game, turn it on. Swing for the fences. I think it's an excellent card. It was one of the first cards that we saw spoiled in Zendikar Rising. It might have been the very first Zendikar Rising spoiler.
It was a leak. It's one of the leaked cards. It's very reminiscent of Creeping Tar Pit to me, and I wasn't sure.
Raging Ravine.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was going to be as good a control finisher as one of those man lands from back in the day, but I do think it should be on watch lists right now as a potential finisher. I think that it adds some value to cards like Heartless Act that remove counters from creatures, because if you can get this down to 0, it would die. It's just another card that you need to watch out for, because I would assume that at some point when the meta kind of settles in, as hopefully it will in the next couple weeks, a control deck will emerge, and I would think that Crawling Barrens is going to run that.
One of or two of at least.
Exactly.
Yep.
Another card that I think is about to get absolutely broken wide open by players wanting to explore more besides the Omnath deck is Felidar Retreat. It's very simple, guys, to trigger this card 2 to 3 times to 4 times in one turn with all of the Cultivates, all of the Beanstalk Giants, all of the search lands. You've got Fabled Passage. You've got Evolving Wilds. This is the kind of card that I think is going to get nutty. Every single time a land enters the battlefield, getting a 2/2, getting a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I mean, a green-white deck with this has yet to impress me, but I don't think it's that long, because now, like I said, people's attention is turned away from Omnath, at least for the second, until they try and, initially everybody's going to try and rebuild it without Uro, because I don't think Uro was enough, but once that deck is officially completely banned into the dirt, Felidar Retreat, I think, will break out.
Yeah, in Felidar Retreat, again, this is one of those cards that, people that like to play Doubling Season, Anointed Procession, Token Strategies, Gav, Guru of Spores, decks like that in EDH, and I know we're talking about Standard, but I'm telling you, whenever I see a good enchantment, I'm telling you, this is one of the good ones, and it's very cheap right now as Zendikar Rising is being mass opened. So if you're on the fence about it, trust me, I mean, oh man, in EDH, this card is just explosive as well. It is just an all-around very good, very strong card. It's not as good as Smothering Tithe, and they're the exact same converted mana cost, but Smothering Tithe, when it first came out, was like a $2 or $3 card, and look at that card now in EDH. I'm just saying.
Super expensive. That is what we've got to say about Uro and the state of Standard. Let's close the book on this one. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Like we said, if you wouldn't mind, go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. We're going to be following this. I don't think this is over. I don't think the discussion about is Standard fixed and is Standard a playable format, I don't think that's done yet. And so there's going to be more to say in the coming weeks.
That's right. We hope you enjoyed this video of us breaking down what's going to happen now that Uro is gone. And until next time, and tap tap.